if we make Sameepji, if
Okay,
you can, yeah.
thank you so much, Ranjan. Good afternoon, everyone. Quick introduction. So my name is Sameep Marwa. Me and Shruti Shah is also on the call. We will talk you through our company, Genleap, our unique product offering that we are coming up with, and what's the mark that we want to leave in the tech industry. So just a quick introduction from my side. I'm basically a chartered accountant. I've worked in 25 years in in different domains, but primarily in risk management and internal audits. So this is my foray into in the edtech space earlier this year when we formed Genleap. Shruti is our Chief Strategic Alliance Officer. Shruti, why don't you just give a 1 minute of introduction before we jump into the slides and talk to them about Genleap? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Sameep and Ranjan. So just to quickly give an introduction about myself, I am Shruti Kathuria. I have 2 decades of experience across financial industry and education industry, worked with various well-known banks like Citi, ING, and Stanchart. Post which I had my own startup in the edtech space, which was into skill development, into employability and entrepreneurship development, and linking students to the corporate world. Now I head strategic alliances, where what we are trying to do is create a marketplace for students to hone up their skills, upskill themselves, and become more employable. So I won't dive deeper into it and leave it on to Sameep to share a presentation, and I'll add my 2 cents post that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. So, this is the approach that we'll be taking. We have 3 or 4 things that we want to do in a structured way. We'll walk you through the presentation that I have today, which is, about our offering and what we're trying to do here. Post that, I have requested Shruti to give us a demo of the report that we have, which is on the concept that Ranjan talked about. It is a triangulated assessment on all the 3 parameters. I'll explain that in a minute. And then towards the end, we can, do a Q&A if you guys have any immediate queries. And otherwise, post that, we, of course, this is the first call, and we can connect later as well, along with MapMaster to take it up ahead with you. So with that, I'm going to just share my screen and then we can get started. Okay. Sorry, somebody is saying something?
No, there was the mic was on unmute. To just,
okay.
Mute that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just request the participants to be on mute just to avoid any. Are you able to see my screen, please?
Yes, Sameepji.
Perfect. So we'll get started. So the company's name is Genleap. We got registered earlier this year. Why is Genleap kind of coming into the picture, and why is our foray? So when our founders got together end of last year, they've been kind of been mulling over the idea that there's a lot of work to be done in the education space, and trying to understand what is the real gap that we have in terms of people not really being happy or in the best of jobs, not getting the right careers or whatever. And I think one standing fact which is coming out was that the assessment of a kid today is primarily done on one parameter only, which is psychometric assessments, which are now being done in schools or by any career counselors and all that. And psychometry is basically it is your state of mind at that particular point in time. While it is a good way to understand what the kid aspires for, or what is he good at and all that, it was not a comprehensive way of looking at it. And then I think then I think the idea came about that we want to have a complete self-discovery of an individual to understand the best way forward in terms of both education or vocation, and then the career ahead. And to that extent, I think the idea was to look at other 2 sciences in conjunction with psychometry to do that assessment. So the first one is genetics, as Ranjan highlighted. Now that's basically a DNA testing and we're not looking at doing any blood samples here, but looking at the swab or the saliva samples to understand what are the genetic traits. And again, the traits are going to be measured in terms of the various attributes and skills that they have, or and then the third element, which is basically a very unique proposition again, is cognitive astromancy. It is basically looking at astrology or your time and date of birth to understand what are the skills, or what basis your temperament, or basis how you are, what are the likely professions or the career options which are more suited for you. And that's the genesis basis which the company is formed. We have developed a unique product. As I speak to you today, even this the astromancy and the genetic part, we filed a patent for it. And it's a first organization, I think, in India definitely, and I'm sure in the world as well, who's going to be looking at all these three sciences to help with the self discovery, and the other two aspects linked to self discovery, which is basically the upskilling and the employability. With that, I would now talk a little bit more about the company and about the organization, but I wanted to just give that context over to you guys. Okay, you know um, what we're trying to say in this slide by giving this quote is that everybody is not really cut out for doing each and everything. Today, if today I'm a chartered accountant, and you tomorrow make me a surgeon, I'll probably be doing a very pathetic job audit, because neither do I have the key skills for that, or I'm not even keen for that. So everybody can't do the same thing, and we have to recognize that fact and basically identify ourselves, including all of us as well, and see how do we get and become the best version for ourselves. If everybody aspires to be a CEO, then the world doesn't function like that. So that's the basic idea behind this slide, to say that we are all unique, and we have to capitalize on our own uniqueness. uh, you know this slide basically, again, I think I've a little bit talked about it. The purpose of Genleap is basically to say that we want to make people become the best version for themselves. We want to make people happy. Students have, you guys are more in touch with the realities of the students of today. You see that there are so many cases which come out where kids, or even people who are past their education, are not happy. There are multiple cases of suicides, and there's a lot of discontentment, and the reason being is that we're probably doing things or in areas which are neither our interest, and nor are we cut out to do those. So we, other than doing the monetary aspect of running this organization, there is a social cause also behind it, to basically have happy individuals who kind of understand their inherent talent, and then they work on that, and to become the best version of what they can become in life. Okay, I'll go to the next slide now. Well, this slide is something that you must be broadly familiar with. All it does is it highlights to you that there's a huge kind of data which is there, in business opportunity and growth potential in the edtech space itself. And if we look at, these are mind-boggling figures, and that is probably the reason why there are so many players today in the market. And it's in fact, it gets confusing for a parent like me today to understand, where do I take my kid? What is which is the right organization to counsel or career counsel them, or provide them with the right career education guidance or career guidance. And again, we are not trying to be one of those same organizations that already exist today, but we have a unique proposition, and I'm going to just talk about that in the next couple of slides. Okay, so this is one of the good important slides to understand. When I looked at this slide for the first time, I never knew that so many verticals really existed. Okay, so I was, for my kids, or as a professional, I was more aware of the career counseling vertical, and some of those big names out here. Mindler, Univarity, IDC. Univarity, in fact, is a public limited company. So, some of these guys are really huge in terms of what they're trying to do. So many organizations have come up in the recent past, which are around e-learning and everything. So all these names, you would be very familiar with. But, things like gamification for kids. Now, I didn't know earlier that, even that's a vertical where parents need help, or, kids, and, there's probably a business opportunity there. So, so these are the different broad areas under which, the edtech platforms or the career tech platforms are currently set up. I just want to caveat saying here that, all these organizations that we are bucketing out here, they may have, it's not an exhaustive list. And, maybe people are, doing more things other than this. They may be in multiple buckets at the same time, but this is just kind of a descriptive way for you to understand, what is this career landscape. Okay, now, the idea is where do we fit in? Okay. And, I actually got the opportunity earlier when I joined to deeply study these, at least the career counseling ones, how well ingrained they are, how do their systems work and processes. But, when we looked at it, and I think our thought process was very clear. We said that with the discovery product that we are coming out with, we don't want to position ourselves in any of these individual buckets. So what we want to do is, and I think I'll need the next slide for that, is that, on the left hand side, you see the self discovery, which is our Gen Discover report. I will just talk about that. Once we have helped the student discover this opportunity, his talent, his ability, then, we are going to help them. So one is the discovery part, which is the report, understanding, taking the parent or the child through that report and understanding their three skills. One is basically your inherent skills and talent, which is your genetics, something that you genetically acquired through your parents or whatever. Somebody could have great mathematical abilities or analytical abilities. Somebody could have, like a musician inside of him and all that. Second is, your psychometry skills, which is basically, I would say, acquired skills, in the world that we have or in the areas that we focus. And the third, which is your astromancy piece, is, basically the natal skills, and a lot of it, it's actually, there is a complete science that we used where we've developed a proper algorithm to understand that basis your time of birth and your date of birth, place of birth, which are your key traits and which are the likely professions where you are more likely to succeed given those traits. We are not using that astromancy data for depicting any life events or anything. It is purely for educational and career choices. And that entire work that we have done is been developed in-house, and which is kind of being patented. So, so coming back to the slide, basically what we're saying is that once we've done the self-discovery and we've understood, we've sat across the table with the parent to walk them through this report and making them understand, that what are these top 10 choices or whatever. What is the next stage? The next stage is that the child or the aspirant needs to go on to that journey. Now, Genleap as an organization is not a subject matter expert to take them onto the journey. For that, for example, somebody wants to take music up as a profession. So we're not a music academy. We can't hone those skills into them. But what we'll do is that we will in our platform, we would have tie-ups with all of the relevant organizations, to take them through, those journeys. So whether it is academic help that they need in terms of the counselors like yourselves, or let's say like Map My Study, who can understand their academic and their educational needs and then help them take towards that journey. So or it could be, let's say, if somebody wants to do cricket, so we would also have a tie-up with, let's say, Mahendra Singh Dhoni Cricket Academy, or a dancing school of one of these other, Madhuri Dixit dancing school. So we have, and later on Shruti will talk a little bit about the strategic alliances that she's doing all over the place, so that we build up that entire ecosystem in place. and thereafter, but it doesn't even end out there. So we are saying that that is where we will help you in scaling up. Just one second. And thereafter, is the third, the round that you see, the current and the future opportunities. So important here for me to highlight to you that we have also in our in the idea of setting up the platform is also not only limiting ourselves to discovery and upskilling, but also provide the relevant current and the future job opportunities as well. So here we are on the brink of a formal business model with one of the big four organizations, where we are working with them to understand the future job stack of the jobs in the coming years. Sorry. And how our students in our network can then really go on to those jobs as well. So that is exactly how we want to kind of position ourselves as an organization, basically a complete end-to-end ed tech platform, which is helping the students or the aspirants discover themselves, upskills themselves, and then take up the relevant opportunities. I'll take a quick pause to understand, just kind of take a pause to see if you have any kind of is there any doubts to what I've till what I've explained, or you want me to carry on?
Any doubts, advisors? If you have any queries which comes in your mind, you can write it on the chat box, or even you can raise your hand and ask before Sameep ji moves forward. Any question comes in your mind?
Yeah, maybe the
Because
good
this is
idea is
something new. Yeah.
no, Ranjan, I think I like your suggestion. Note it down. Let's flow through it, because some of your queries may get solved by the end. Once you've talked about
Correct.
the complete thing. So but do make a
Correct.
note of it, please.
Keep
Also,
writing on the chat box, advisors, please, because this is something new for you all and for us also. So please write on the chat box your queries, and we will pick it up one by one. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this. Now this is a very very relevant slide, and of how is that Genleap wanting to build up their ecosystem. If you look at there is no center to it, but I would say the parents and the aspirants are, I think, core to the people who need us. What we are doing through our platform is that we are connecting everybody and getting all of them to our platform. So for example, Shruti is helping us with a lot of strategic alliances around the e-learning platforms, the schools, the colleges. There's a different team who's working with on the employers bit. From my side, just one second, I need to how do I minimize this this window? One second. Yeah. Okay, from my side, I am building up the counselors ecosystem, the tutors ecosystem, and the mentors ecosystem. So our idea is that when basically the aspirant comes on board out here, and he understands this, he goes through our self discovery report. He then understands as to where does their goal in life lie. We help them to reach that goal, and then through this platform itself, they can get to their careers and all of that stuff. So on one side you also see just one second, sorry. Yeah, so on one side you see the schools, and in the middle of it you also see the employers. So which means that we are also connecting the aspirants to the various employers, which is where our tie-up with our the big four partner will work will, because what we're doing with them is essentially we're understanding the future of the jobs, and then helping the kids also understand that this is where your job market is going to move to. As we have seen the world change over the last 3 or 4 years, even today as we speak, many of the jobs that we that are very much manual today may get automated and move out of the way. The choices of careers which we have seen over the last few years change dynamically. So data sciences, data analytics, they are the areas where people are kind of much more focused today. And the world will even move faster from from today as well. It is also important for me to highlight to you that right now, while our focus is primarily on the skills, uh, the organized sector, which is basically the schools, employers, and all of that stuff. We're also working with the government, to see how we can, look at the unskilled sector as well. So if you look at the left bucket, the left side of thing where we say Ministry of Skill Development, we're also working with the government to see how can we take our product to the masses, and make it cheaper and affordable for them, so that they can also take benefit of it. Uh, so this is exactly how we want to do it. I'll just move ahead. 1 second. Okay. So so basically, I think the slide is self-explanatory. What we're trying to say here is that, in our report, we are just doing our discovery report. We are which is also the personality and the talent assessment. We are doing the counseling for the kids. That's our first so-called table. The second one is that we're doing a more extensive insight report for them and developing a career plan from them. So that's the next stage of things to come. Once we do that, and so we'll have two types of students. One which do not need a very clear career development plan, because they're already clear in their heads, yes, but they need some help and direction in terms of getting into the right colleges and institutions. uh, the other are the set of children or aspirants, who have no idea what they want to do. So basis their report, we also want to help them understand and structure what is it that they should focus on. Once these two areas are done, that's where the value add of organizations like yourself and MMS comes in, where you can then take the kid on over to the journey. So we hand over the kid to you, but we retain on a kind of like an annual retainer model with them, and we continue to track the progress of the kid, through yourself or your organizations, to see how they are kind of doing in the space that they are. Needless to say that all of this stuff that we're trying to do is going to be AI driven. So the more and more students that we go with the model, and the more data that we start receiving, it will start churning back into our engines, and we continue to improvise our product and our suffering offering. So we'll also learn and improve as we go along. But this is how we are kind of planning to approach the whole subject. Okay. We did talk about this, but I'll explain this a little bit more. So this is basically we are going to be doing a triangulated assessment on three areas: genomics, psychology, and cognitive instrumency. Cognitive instrumency is something we've developed in, as well as psychology. We have partnered with a leading genetic testing agency, which is based out of Switzerland, who does the DNA testing. And so right now how we are positioning our thing is that let's say somebody signs up with us and wants to take our product offering, then we will have a saliva kit delivered to your house. We will have it picked up. It will be sent over to our partners in Switzerland, and the testing was done, and then we get after a certain period of time, uh, um, a complete automated PDF report would come with all the three aspects. Of course, there are two other areas. Once you, let's say, sign up, you would get a link for one, to go ahead for the test. Second is you have to undertake the psychometry test, and the third would be for you to provide, or the student to provide, their date of birth and all that scores. Now all these three streams would work in parallel, and the data would feed into a central point, and again, using technology, there will be a automated report, which I call it a triangulated assessment report, on all these three parameters, which we then talk the kid through, and kid or the parent through, to understand, and the child self discover themselves. And so it's, again, as I said, it's going to be a proven, it's going to be a holistic assessment of the individual. What we've done till date is that we have tested this, so we are past the proof of concept stage. We have worked on this. We have tested it on quite a few cases, to see internally, to see whether it's more reflective, whether, we need to fine tune our product or whatever. So we're very happy to see that, the success, or, we are seeing almost up to a 90+% accuracy rate come up, with understanding an individual better in terms of our own, people to start with, for that matter. What we're trying to do is that, before we launch our product offering somewhere around Jan or Feb in the coming year, we want to take care of our, ensure that, we have solved all those pending queries. We have, we've looked at our logistics platform. We've done our homework well, because, once we get started, we would have, we are seeing a lot of volumes coming in because of the tie-ups that we've done with the schools and the education institutions. I will just talk about that as well, as to where we have reached in that journey. Sorry. Hello.
Sameep, please carry on. No problem.
Okay, so the flagship product that we are going to be talking is called Gen Discover. There is a pricing for that product. We what we are discussing with our counselor partners, like MapMe Study, but at this stage I don't want to get into that the pricing and the revenue share aspects of it. It is more important for us to understand how the product will work, how we will work with each other, and how do we take this ahead to the institutions and all that stuff. So okay, so this is so just a little bit about so on the psychometry part of it, our entire product is based on the Oceans profile. So anybody who's worked in the psychology space understand that this is a known model through which you could do an assessment, which is basically the Oceans profile stands for your openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeability, and neuroticism. What we are doing is that by seeing this model, our genetic partners are also able to, the genetic markers are able to cull out the relevant characteristics under each of these areas what you see out here. So for example, if you look at openness and if you see emotional aspect, so how this report, and which we'll see in some time, which Shruti will take you through, is so for any of these parameters. So for example, how is the person doing on emotional state of mind under openness, right? So in that report you would have 3 different levels of assessment coming up. One, how is he genetically placed? Second, what does the psychometry test reveal on that particular trait? And third is on the astromancy side of it. Now, depending on all of the 3, and in some areas he may be, let's say, 100 on one and just 40 on the other one. How do you assess that? And that is exactly what this entire assessment is going to be about. And this is how we're going to then understand the relevant data which comes in, train our counselors and people like yourself to understand this report, and then help the kids with that understanding to see that this is what is coming out. Then these are going to be further mapped to the different 99 professions that we have kind of looked at, with the top 99 professions. So let's say if you're doing an assessment for an individual, there would be a situation where the top 5 professions are highlighted, kind of coming out of these assessments. Now, all we're trying to say in that through our assessment report is that it's not that you should not be looking at, let's say, a profession which is 25th in that list of 99, or even the 99 for that matter. All we're trying to say is that looking at your own self-discovery on all 3 parameters, there's a higher chance of you getting into a success zone in the top 5. Having said that, if the kid or the parent is very keen that no, they this is not what I want to do, I want to do the 20th one, and we will still help them take on to that journey. But what we are again trying to say is that basis the science that we've used on all 3 meters, this is what we think as an organization you should focus on, and that's the work that we wanted to do in this space. As a highlighted, out of this, we're also in the enhanced, there's the enhanced version of the report as well, where we will have the specific aptitudes and abilities also highlighted, some so on these elements like the musical, physical agility, learning ability and all that. Now, this is a little bit of a differentiation between the standard report that we have, and this is, the extra bit, which is probably, at a slightly higher price, that, somebody wants to have more detail, then we can even provide that more level of details to them on all that fronts. Okay, this is again a very, very important slide, and I'll tell you why it is like that. Till now, what we've seen is that, who are the kids, who are the people who come for career counseling, primarily, if you look at 4 onwards, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Basically people on, or more exactly on the 4 and the 5 bucket. Where people say that, okay, now I want to have career counseling because I want to pick up a profession or an education, and I don't know whether I should do sciences or, commerce or whatever, and I'm lost, and the parents are also not sure what should the kid do. And that is where they start going to counselors and to these different organizations for help and support and all that. With our product, and this slide is basically now mapped with the new education policy of the country. How is our model going to be different? All other players today are set up in the 4th bucket onwards, 4th, 5th, 6th, right? What we are saying is that this discovery report, we leave the level 1 out of it, which is the pre-primary one. But from the 2nd onwards, which is the primary class 1 to 5 onwards, we are saying that that's the right time. We want to even that's an audience for us, even that's a targeted client for us. Because if today at an early age you can discover yourself in a much better way, through these 3 sciences, that will really help you kind of do the journey upwards in a more fantastic fashion, rather than just picking it up only when when it's when you are in that stage where you need to pick up sciences, commerce or humanities. So so just to highlight the difference, our target audience starts from 2 and it goes over towards even at the end. Today, let's say I'm 50 years old today. Well, I'm not right but let's say I'm 50 years old and I have done a particular career all my life, and today I want to understand, no, this is not what I want to do. Let me try and discover myself. What is my potential, what are my inherent skills, what could I be really good at, and maybe it could be a game changer for me. So there is nothing stopping me also to become a client of Genleap. And it may just throw out a very different picture for myself. And if I just take a minute and tell you about my own journey for that matter. So I aspired to become a doctor like my father, who was a doctor. I lost him at an early age, and I thought, it's a noble profession, I want to be in that profession. By the time I came into the 11th and 12th, my focus was slightly lost, and I could not really do medical, and I couldn't leave out of time because of my home situation. I ended up picking the next best profession, which was chartered accountancy, and I did that. With good educational background and all that, I did. I could do CA in the first go, and I did a reasonably good career in in the corporate world as well. But if I look at assessment report today, which has come out for my own self, at least the astro part of it, I'm surprised to see that the profession which gets highlighted for me is a totally unique one, which I never ever thought of. And today, if I look back and see, did it make more sense for me to know that information at that point of time? Absolutely. The top profession that comes out for me was, military, which is, the civil services. The second which comes out is more in line with what I'm trying to do, which is, teaching or counseling or career counseling. The third one, I've forgotten the third one. But basically what I'm trying to say here is that, would this information be helpful for me at that stage? I had never even thought about it. Yes, it would have been. Maybe maybe it could have taken me to a different space altogether. So all I'm saying is that we end up doing something. We may be good at it, but do we reach our best potential in that space? Maybe not. And that is why, again, personally speaking as well, I feel that this kind of triangulated assessment makes a lot of sense for us. And even just a last point, that even people are ending the getting into their 60s, retiring and all that, this report per se could also help them decide on their sunset choices and all of that stuff. So with this report, our audience exactly is, 6 to 60s, I would say, is our client. And it is just not that, class 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th are our clients, which is basically what some of the other players are doing. Okay, very happy to highlight this slide. These are all the tie-ups that we've done, and these are all, inked up. Some of them, are we've not got their permission. So, we have not put them onto our formal slides. We, still waiting for them to hear that if we can use their names. KPMG was the organization that I told you about, the Big Four organization. Just to talk about Amity, this is one of our biggest tie-ups, where we are looking at straight away their entire schools and colleges, straight away a base of 250,000 students aligned to be going through our through our Genleap product. Similarly, GD Goenka has been kind of pathways. All of them have, we've onboarded all of them, and we're going to be working with all of these names that you see out there. It is not an exhaustive list. Shruti will be able to talk to you a little bit more about the work that she is doing in really taking this across India, really in that matter. So MapMy Study is right in the middle of the whole thing. There are a principal counseling partner, and we are working very closely with them to reach out to both for our India as well as our overseas offering for the students in the really in the education and the admission space. Okay, these are some of the other partners. As I said earlier, look for Toda School of Music. So the idea is that tomorrow if we have somebody coming out, we don't want to say that well, you picked up music, now we can't help you. So we take them onto the those platforms as well. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. Okay, so these are some of the lead kind of key investors in our business. Again, Amity and KPMG both, they have not only are they going to be working with us, they have also invested with us, as our there are our shareholders in this journey. Some of these kind of names you may be knowing, some of them personally, or you would have read about them. Again, just to highlight that as at an initial stage we've raised about 60 crores at an initial seed funding, a valuation of about 160 crores from 30 of these key investors. So this slide helps you kind of depict some of these names, help you understand that it's already an established model. It's already recognized by these the Amities and the KPMGs of the world. So it is not something which is still being thought about or whatever. This is a quick snapshot of our leaders. Sachin and Nimish, they both are the main principal founders. They both are from real estate backgrounds. They've done good they've set up businesses, profitable businesses. Sachin has led the RICS model, where he's set up this education stuff for the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So they've done build up several successful businesses in the past, and that's the core team. And then is the next leadership team, which is people like Shruti and myself. Again, just quickly, some of the testimonials we had, just for you guys to be aware, and I can share that over with you guys. We had our 16th of November, we had our formal brand launch at the Oberoi's in New Delhi, and and some of those messages and the testimonials had come in for our launch. Basically and we announced that we have arrived and we are going to get started early next year. And we introduced ourselves to the world. So that's as recent at about 2 weeks back. So I'm just going to skip through some of this, but basically you can see that some of the people at a high at senior levels have looked at our product, and they've given their testimonials that they find it a very unique and a good proposition. Okay, so well, that's it. I think I may have done it faster, but I hope I've been able to at least explain to you guys what is Genleap, what is it, what's the product that we have, how do we want to work with you is something that we would have a separate discussion, basically along with MapMy Study, of how we would want you to, look at our product, roll it out, and, and work, collaboratively with you, going ahead. So, I'll take a pause, and if there's, if there's no specific query at this stage, then, I would request, my colleague Shruti to add if she wants to add something out here. Otherwise, walk you through, guys, through a quick demo of the actual report today. How does it look like? And how it is going to add value to any parent or any kid who wants to really understand, that hamare andar kya hai, who do we really are in life.
Great, Sameepji. We have some queries. I think some of the queries already been answered while you were talking. I think one of the queries Mr. Natarajan is asking, what could be level of accuracy on recommendations based on Astro? For Astro has various methods of calculation. The respective predictive suggestions vary accordingly. So do you think Shruti's presentation might answer that?
Okay, so let me try and explain this concept. What we are trying to do with Astro is that, we are using that science to develop a complete mathematical model, on what are these relevant parameters, and which are the likely professions. So, as we do that, we are also, as I said earlier, we're trying to assess ourselves or our reports to see, do these, because, at the end of the day, it's everything is going to be tech driven. It's not somebody, you send me your date of birth and somebody will start making your horoscopic kind of a chart out there. So the algorithm has to define and take care of itself. Now, those, as I said earlier, the more and more data that keeps on coming in for people like you, me, students, all of that inputs and, some changes will help, to fine tune the algorithm as well. It is not an exact science. It is not as easy as a genetic score. Even a psychometry score, let's understand, why does a psychometry score fail? A psychometry assessment is your state of mind at that point in time. Today, a kid in the 10th class is asked to fill out a form. वो घर से लड़के आया, और उसके इसके माँ बाप के साथ लड़ाई हुई है. His girlfriend is not happy with him.
Accurate always. It's not
Yeah,
accurate always.
he may not be just answering it right, so he's in a disturbed state of mind. And even if he is bang on, that is his state of mind at that situation in life. Will that remain forever? No, it won't. So for me, I would definitely use psychometry as a tool to understand my current state, but I would be more dependent or on the genetic part to understand, my own kid for that matter, genetically, since I'm the father and since, I've been staying with my kid for 20 years, I understand the genetic, build up or, the genetic traits the individual has. I'm also very, very keen to understand, what does the astro mean for the kid, so, and I'm, and like all of you guys, I'm going to be one of the first users of this report for my own kids, one being in the 19 years old, the other is, in the 10th class today. So I'm myself waiting for, to really understand these extensive reports, to better understand my child and the direction that I should be, proposing to my child. Rest is their, whatever destiny as to what they want to do in life. So, with that, hopefully that answers, but,
I think Natarajan ji is there. He turned on his video and he wants to ask something.
Please
if
go
you guys are okay, then I will request him to please ask.
Yeah, Natarajan ji, go ahead, please.
Good evening. Actually, the astro predictions has got mainly two basic calculations. One is based on the ancient sun-based calculation, another one is Trikanita. Both totally differ. Okay, when you especially go for a career prediction, it totally differs. I got my own personal experience because I know a little bit of that. So that is the reason I raised this particular question. Like, though it's a technology driven, what are the algorithm and inputs that we are giving based on the prediction is going to be given.
So fantastic.
Whether we are going to follow conventional sun-based solar system or Trikanita, both differs. How do we match between them?
Well, that's going more technical. But
let me not, let me not answer.
Yeah.
So simple answer to that, sir, is that, I am not the expert who's building it up, but let me assure you, one, I will get the answer for you. Second is that, the person who's developing this in-house is is a very learned scholar, and in fact an architect by profession, who's been doing the work around this space for as long as he has been. I mean, he's like 60 years old today, so he's done it all his life. As whether it is sun based or whatever, I will get those answers for you unless Shruti already has that. But it is basic because I was also trying to understand from him that there are different sciences in astrology itself. South India, North India is also probably different. But then I don't want to give you any answer which is not very very known to me. But I will definitely get the exact query back for you, response back to you for your query as to what exactly, just let me know exactly what the query is in a ping, and I will get the answer to you today itself.
Maybe
Unless you already have an answer.
Rajanji is asking on the variations, on the results, and also the different kinds of astrology,
I
sun based
am gonna
and the
I am
other
gonna
one.
I am gonna
Yeah.
connect our lead person with him directly because otherwise I'll be back and forth with him. I will not be able, because I can clearly understand that he's also somebody who's interested in that space, or has more knowledge than me, at least, about it.
Yeah.
So Natarajan ji, I will connect you with the right person.
Because I'm
No worries.
basically I'm a technology person also in the IT industry since '87, so I know both the differences. That's the reason I raised this question.
Great,
Perfect,
great,
sir.
great.
I'm an illiterate in that regard. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Shruti, over to you,
Thank
Shruti.
you. Before I'm so sorry, Shruti ji. Before we start, I have a couple of more questions, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'll just, so Arjun has asked, Mr. Arjun, he says, do counselor need to get the training in order to study the reports?
Yes,
I mean,
I
I
will.
asked this question
I will.
upfront.
Yes,
Yeah,
no. Thank you for sharing
before
that. In
that.
fact,
Yeah.
so I have, just to share the same thing with you, which I've shared with the other counselors that we have signed up our agreements with, is that we are right now in the stage where we have developed our product. We are fine tuning it. We are setting up our the logistics platform, because I explained to you today how it's going to work is that we are also trying to aim to set up a genomics lab in India, rather than because it's going to take a lot 2 or 3 weeks for for the sample to get connected. Then it has to go to Switzerland. Switzerland has the lab back in Germany. By the time we get our report, it takes 3 or 4 weeks, and it is the costly product because of the fact that the genetic cost is high. The report is going out. So if we are to cut down the cost and to make our product more affordable and cheaper for the masses, then we want to definitely get this set up in-house. So what we're saying today is that between now to I would say, let's say, end of Jan is where we are doing all of that stuff. We are also in Jan targeting to doing the UAT, the testing on all of those parameters, finalizing once the product is completely finalizing, making up the training packs. In February, what I would want to do, and hopefully I can do it earlier in Jan, is that when the training pack is developed, then I reach back with my counseling partners, to take them through the report, take them through the training packs. In fact, get trained myself today. If I get a report, am I as an employee also well versed today to understand that complete report, give a download to a student? Maybe not. Then because that is being developed right now, that the training content part of it. Second is that not only for the counselors here, even when we'll have our own teams which will do the reach outs to the schools, colleges, and all that stuff. And tomorrow when the people come into our network for our initial assessment, we have to take them through that report, and understanding on that report. So that entire training piece, the content is kind of developed, but we are planning to do that across in, I would say, end Jan or Feb. So so that's my kind of ask out here, that once, even when we start working with you, there will be a little bit of a gap of a month or so, before we are able to give that download, that training over to you guys or whatever. But we'll keep all the counselors updated onto our progress, and where we are ready to kind of go and train them, get them onboarded, get them to start. You will have a formal. So just to also clarify, we are going to have, like we had a brand launch event, we are going to have a formal go live event as well. That now from today onward, we've kicked off our operations, and now you can log into our website, pay for the product, and we'll get the report over to you. So all that stuff is targeted for Jan Feb, and basically saying, okay, by when the next academic session goes live, which is April onwards, we want to go out to the schools, colleges, everyone, with our report. And that's the reason why today we are focusing on, while that's a different team which is doing the development part of it, Shruti and me and the others in the team, we are very focused that we have to develop our complete network and ecosystem, so that when everything is prepared, then we are not trying to figure out acha ab kiske through bechna hai, who's going to take them and all that. So we are sorting all that stuff out. And since we have the proof of concept in place, you would have seen that a lot of people have already tied up with us and everything. So all that is planned for I would say Jan and Feb, and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you so much. And I think the next question from Varunji: how and where do we send the test sample? I think you've already answered it, Switzerland, and that will be a swab test, not a blood test as such. And Mr. Mubashir,
It's going to be a saliva test. We are also looking at whether it could be a swab or could be a spit test. I think what we have seen is swab may, the genetic thing gets diluted. So we may use a spit based model, where, but again, I think, by the time the work progresses, we are also in advanced stages of looking at labs in India. So for all by the time we go live, and, we may end up, really having a lab here and cut down on the time, because if it goes outside, then there is a 2 or 3 week lag before we kid gets the final report. We want to cut down on that time, cut down on the cost.
Right.
So some things may change, but only for the better.
Great. Mr. Mubashi says, if all the tests are not positive, then doesn't it will impact student? I think there is no positive or negative in these tests, Mubashi ji.
Then this is in fact I would love to and I was telling my leadership team that when I get my report of my kid, I am going to tear that report apart to see a report theek hai ki nahi hai. Because at least I'm going to challenge it. So see, because if it is today, when we want to reach out, nothing is 100% perfect. All we're trying to say is, earlier we were using only psychometry, so results were only 30 or 40% visible. With our triangulated assessment, we are saying we hope to see 90% accuracy. It could get better over time, but a jump from a 30 to a 80-90% is also humongous in terms of assessment for your own self, for your kids and whatever. So 100% तो पता नहीं ऊपर जाके भी मिलता है कि नहीं मिलता.
बिल्कुल सही है सर. वो बेसिकली पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव यहाँ पे कोविड टेस्ट नहीं है, so positive negative नहीं है. So we'll move to Shruti ji now. Shruti, you can actually start your session, and then we will have more questions coming up. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Ranjan, and thank you, Sameep, for giving such an exhaustive presentation, which made everything very clear. I'm sure it would have made it clear for all the participants here. So I would not like to quickly move on to my slide and share how the product looks like, but I would like to, of course, know more about how the people who are sitting here felt about the product. Somehow, something important that I'd like to add here about Genleap is that why do we exist? Now, the problem that Genleap is trying to solve here is that when you look at parents today, let's look at parents for children who are between the age of, say, 0 to 10 years. What are parents doing? They're basically pushing their child to be a jack of all trades. You want your child to get into music, you want your child to get into dance, into studies, into mathematics, tennis, you name it. Now, what is eventually happening is that even when the child loves a particular hobby, because of the pressure, the enormous pressure that is coming on the child, they burn out and they don't enjoy whatever hobby that they are pursuing. While parents are draining out all their money, the time, energy on the child, leading to nothing as the children grow up. Now look at a child who is probably looking at the right career streams for themselves. What people do is, they say, okay, fine, this is my first circle of influence. My cousins are doing this. My neighbor is doing it, or parents for that matter. There's a report which talks about that in India, 82% of the career decisions are taken by parents and not by the child, which is such an irony, because It's a child's life, we are expecting them to lead a more happy life without them involved in that decision making. And eventually what is happening is that in India, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression is seeping in, even at a much younger age. People are leaving their careers probably 10 years, 20 years into it, and then feeling that they're not meant for it. So much of depression in the society simply because people, the way we are picking careers is very different. It's like first come, first serve basis. When this is the first option that came in, I'm looking for a job and I grab it without actually understanding what are those skills that I have in me. What are those strengths that I have in me, the talents that I have in me, and then picking up my career accordingly. So when you do your career decision making in a proper fashion, the whole road seems very lit up. You clear that this is the goal that I have. And then another problem is, fine, I decide that I always love to do art. And I pick up, okay, fine, I pick up brushes. But who's the right trainer for me? What is the right course? Who's going to be my guru? Which are the courses that I need to take? Okay, which are the universities which are offering the right courses? Whether I should do it in India or abroad. So all those questions a child is bothered with, and what we expect is the discretionary power is left on the child most of the times once they get into graduation. We create timetables for children when they are in school. We say this is the time for you to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But the moment they get into college, you say the discretion is on you. And that's when it happens that they make decisions which they themselves are not confident about. Now, when you look at all these aspects, all these problem areas, you understand why is it that there is a match in employability skills or unemployment in India. So you'll realize that unemployment in India itself, when you look at illiterate people, the unemployment is much lower. As the literacy goes up, the unemployment also increases. It's because of all the confusion, and hence Genleap tries and address this particular huge problem that India is facing, is when you nip it in the bud. It's the root cause wherein one decides what is it that I have in me, what is it, or probably what is it that my child has it in her or him, and then deciding, helping them create the right career path for themselves. That's number one. The second is when you talk about career counselors. There are times when you need a counselor which is more on the psychological perspective. You need a behavioral counselor. You want somebody to attune your child in terms of how they behave, how they talk, how they're perceiving a certain situation, probably a certain stress that they have. There are times that a child is not looking at a behavioral counselor, they're looking at a subject matter counselor. There could be a time when a child is looking at probably a study abroad counselor. Now, you need what we normally do is we're scouting for different services outside. When I need this, who do I go to? When I need this, who do I go to? But what Genleap is trying to do is it's providing an end-to-end solution for all the needs a child would have at various points in their journey. Need not be that you need counseling only when you are, say, 15 years old. You might need counseling even when you're 25. You might need counseling even at 40, 45, 50. And the kind of counseling may vary. So, and then the third part that I wanted to talk about is, like very rightly pointed out, astromancy. When you look at these three sciences, you talk about genomics, which tells you these are the traits, the innate traits that you're born with. Then psychometry is the acquired traits, and then you talk about astromancy, which is the natal strengths, those strengths that are coming to you thanks to the stars, that you're born with. Now, when you cross-validate all these three sciences, we are not saying that we are predicting your future. We're not saying that you're going to become so and so. What we are trying to say is that these are the personality traits that you possess. And this is the level that you possess. Let's see which are going to be the best professions for you. And chances are that the child might say that you're telling me these are the top 5 professions and the bottom 3 profession, I want to go with the bottom 3rd profession. Now what? In that scenario, do we say no? Do we say that you're not meant for it? Absolutely not. What we're trying to say is, yes, you can of course achieve that as well, but the kind of time, energy, effort that is going to be required for you to achieve that will be a little more, or probably much more than what is matching your competency, skill, and knowledge at this point in time. So, this was something that I really wanted to share with you all, because all of you are in this space and you would know what is the mindset of a child, what they think. I'm open to your thoughts, what you feel, and do you think Genleap can actually address that particular problem? If there's, yeah, so I saw some mic going on. So Mr. Natarajan, in case you would
Yeah.
like to add something.
Yeah, in fact, what he said is right. There are some unemployment problems, but in my experience as a career counselor and a state coordinator for the entire state of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, I had observed many students and college and school students community, and we had assessed with few of the graduates also. More than unemployment problem, in my personal experience, I feel like they are all unemployable. That is a
Absolutely.
problem. So addressing that, it's really like you take any kind of test, whether it is a psychometric test or you take the Indianized version, because psychometric test, most of the test falls in American concepts, which really doesn't suit the Indian scenario. So you go for Indian based analysis and all those predictions, because we tried with the various test processes. But despite all those things, predicting and suggesting a student a right career or a decisive career is really a bit difficult. Okay. So how far this will supplement that, certainly it's a really a question. And as you rightly said, like cannot give 100% suggestions to them, but still how far we can match them to that level, and the volume is also high. So that is the first point. Second thing is,
Yeah. The only thing that I'd like to add here, like you rightly said, 80% of the students who are passing out of engineering and management colleges, Mr. Natarajan, they are unemployable.
yeah.
It's not that they are unemployed, so they are lacking certain competencies and skills which are required for them to get the kind of job. So why is it that a graduate is picking up a job which is meant for a 10th pass? That's because they're lacking those particular skills. So that is again, one of those areas that Genleap tries and address, because when a child knows what are those competencies that he possesses, they'll pick up the right courses, they'll pick up the right vocational skills and match it up, leading to the job.
That is right, but the options and choices and location based on all those things, topographically, there are lots of challenges involved in this. That is also there. Like certainly, maybe we can assess them and give them a right career choice or course choices or anything. But the family circumstances or other scenarios that may not match also. No? That is another challenging task available here. So addressing, because I had faced these challenges, that's the reason I'm raising this story.
No, Mr. Natarajan, valid point. Sorry, I'm just coming in here. So, it is also important for me to highlight that, if you remember the slide where we're talking about, this Genleap also being the platform for employability. So, for example, I'll take a scenario for you to, to understand this example better. Let's say on my platform, I have organizations like Google, Apple, all of these, already onboarded, and I can, and they are also looking at our, they have two benefits out there. One, they can use our product for, understanding the core skills of their current and existing employees. Second is where they can understand that, these are the skills that we are looking for, and how does our platform benefit for them, and how, what it means for the students. So for example, Google says to us, that we have a requirement of 100 data scientists. These are the skills that we're looking for in the 100, let's say make it 100,000 over the next 5 years. These are the skills that we are looking for. So, that's a requirement from a business standpoint that we understand from, let's say, Google. Now today, let's say we are having, let's say, 1 million students on our platform, because they're looking at the fact that, we are targeting so many schools across the board. And, one particular organization is, means about 250,000 students for us. So, we're looking at those big numbers. Now we are saying that, when the child comes to us, and when the report shows that, this is the area that there, is also getting highlighted in their report. Let's say getting into data sciences or being a data analyst and all that stuff. There's a very clear marriage that can happen out here, because, while, on sitting on the same platform, we are able to get that kid inducted into that company, because they have the similar requirement. One of the networks that I talked about was building up the mentors network. That is also going to help. So today, let's say I have these top 10 people in Google, as part of my mentor network. Through that network, I would also ensure that, the right students in my platform who've used my product, who are with me as students, are also getting the right jobs. Because, we are not selling ourselves as a career counseling company. We are not selling ourselves as a, as a limited skills development company. We are saying start to end, understand what you are, self-discovery, upskilling yourself through those various, companies in the middle, and then taking you to the career. वो हम सब कुछ देंगे आपको, end to end. So, that way, I think, some of those issues hopefully will get resolved. Needless to say, we are getting started up, but, we are the likely, response that we have seen across the counselors, across the educational institutions, across the companies as well, and across, the fact that we have this tie-up with one of the big 4 partners who would be our gateway. KPMG will be our gateway to these other organizations. So we are wanting to create this entire platform of universe out here itself. कहीं जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है बच्चे को, हमारे पास आ जाओ. We will take you through the end of the thing. That's where we want to do it. That's how we would want to do it, is what I'm saying. And Shruti, just one point I wanted to highlight, that, the reason why I feel the self-discovery is much more better, very much required, that, I'm always going to talk about my own context, because I know I like that bit. My son is in the 10th class. He's giving his boards. He's fantastic in science, sciences and maths. He's always been a 9.8 CGPA all throughout. This time he came first in his own section. He didn't even know about it, because of score, सारे जो results आते हैं ना, सब YouTube पे आते हैं. So he stood out 6th in the school or 7th, but he didn't, I realized that, the first 6 are not from his section. So, I actually congratulated him कि आप अपने section में भी first आ गए, उसको पता भी नहीं था. Within the last 3 months, he is wanting to become a doctor. Then he says मैं investment banking करूंगा, क्योंकि मेरा बड़ा भाई वैसे कर रहा है. फिर वो economics करना चाहता है. उसको भी नहीं पता, मेरे को भी नहीं पता. मेरे को सिर्फ इतना पता है that my son is a very hardworking guy. He's got enough wits and brains, and mathematics and sciences are his strong areas. But, I can't decide a profession for him. And today, if I ask him, and today even he cannot. अब होगा क्या कि 11th में, because it's a very crucial time, I don't know whether he'll pick up sciences or not, or he wants to pick up commerce. I am really keen to have his report, to understand, at least suggest to him, and, sit and have a session along with my wife and him and, his elder brother, to say, because this is a defining time. Once, let's say you've taken up commerce, after 3 years, you cannot take up sciences. I have in my own life done the reverse. Being a science student, I switched over to commerce. It's easier that way. But this clarity is very much required. And, while Shruti said that, parents के ऊपर, parents बच्चों पे छोड़ देते हैं, और, और नहीं छोड़ते हैं, खुद decide करते हैं. अरे parents को भी नहीं पता.
And that's the irony, Sameep. You know what? Parents are guiding the child towards jobs. Of course, you are in the education space, so you are still much more aware. They are unaware, and they are guiding the child to the jobs which will become redundant, not in the next 10 years, probably in the next 2 years also. So, so it's very important to keep ourselves. We are not the right decision makers. The right guidance has to come to the child in this evolving market scenario, where even the job stack that we have from KPMG, we will be revisiting the stock
Absolutely.
on a quarterly basis, because the same job will have a different requirement over a period of time.
No, absolutely, Shruti. And, we can imagine how the world has changed. When I passed out of school, I had only 6-7 careers ahead of me. CA ban jao, doctor ban jao, engineer, MBA, architect, those things. First time I used Microsoft Word when I became a chartered accountant, and I had to make a CV. My entire CA, I have done it with, calculators and manual books. There was no computers then. Can you believe it? I'm talking about 1996 and, before that. The world has changed. Today, there are hundreds of professions. And as a parent and even as a career counselor, we don't know kitne hazaron, all of these professions are there. What are the multiple choices? It is not that top 5 hai, inme se koi bhi utha lo. So it is very difficult for a parent, for me to today guide my kid. I am just not able to with my limited understanding.
I agree with you. My concern is like the challenges are that the opportunities, okay, we may guide about the opportunities and thing, but the real opportunity may not exist in the near to them or the topographical area near future. So that is a concern. Okay, my second question is, since we are involved with the DNA test of the kids, so it's something related with the health industry. Does it need any government's approval for this kind of medical test and kind of things?
No. So
maybe like you might address that, but still I just wanted to know that.
No, so I'm aware of the fact that we are taking the genetic samples, so it's privy data, and we are very mindful to be following all the data privacy concerns from that perspective. We are not taking any medical, we're not in the future as well, we're not wanting to get into anything related to the taking the blood or getting into the medical part of it. And as far as taking the genetic sample, sending it abroad, we have all those relevant clearances or the stuff in place, that has been taken care of at the concept stage itself, because otherwise this thing can't work. Having said that, we are also mindful that to make sure that the data is as close to us, and to drive the cost down, as I said earlier, we want to have a lab here itself. Sara kuch in-house rahe, ya, within our management space, we don't, we want to outsource lesser as we go along and build, depending on how our business model scales up, we want to build those economies of scale here itself. But yes, it's an important point, and that thing has been addressed.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So
Shruti, sorry, I saw some message coming, some chat message coming in. Is there some query out there, or?
No query. What I'll do is I'll quickly run you through the report. It will take only 4 to 5 minutes for everyone to understand how it looks like. It's just a sample. Allow me to share the screen.
Yeah, and while Shruti shares it, let's understand that it's still while this report is it's still changing, and we're trying to make it more presentable, better, and all that. But this will give you a very clear idea of how the scoring will work, and how all the different parameters are going to be there for understanding and all that. Over to you, Shruti.
Yeah, thanks, Sameep. So this is how the report looks like. What we're doing is, like Sameep explained in his slide, that we base it on psychometry, DNA, and astromancy. Now, how do all these three sciences cross-validate? So we're basing it on the ocean profile, which is the 5 competencies of openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and emotional stability. Now, each of these competencies is linked to another 10 competencies. So we basically get a stack of around 50 competencies that we can map various jobs on. Now, even when you talk about a certain competency, say openness. Now, do you think somebody who's practical is anyway lesser than somebody who's a visionary? Not at all. So there's nothing black or white when you talk about personality. What you need to actually understand, where is it that your space belongs, and then plan your career according to the strengths that you have. Say, for instance, somebody who's more practical, the kind of job opportunities with him will be very different for somebody who's a visionary. So your competency match has to come in. Now, when you see here, another way of looking at this is there are 3 levels, from low, mid to high for each of these competencies. As you see, we're talking about a DNA strength very high on visionary, which goes to say that the person, Sunita Kapoor here, so the person does not exist. So this is just a hypothetical example that we've taken. Now, here the person is showing very high trait of being a visionary through the DNA. But when you talk about psychometry, it is low to mid, which means somehow that the individual is born with those strengths of being a visionary, but the environment that he or she has been exposed to, they've not been able to blossom to the highest potential. So do you think there's a scope of that person to improve and get into the visionary space? Of course it does. And if you see, that person has a natal strength also of being a visionary. So there is a scope for the person to improve if he or she wants. And yes, we could guide them to the right tools, the right courses where they could hone up that skill and probably align themselves to those kind of jobs as well. So the same goes for all. I'll move on to the next to give you a better visibility of what I'm talking about. When you say core competencies, core personality traits. Now, this is a taxonomy that we would have for different profiles of people with a certain set of competencies put together. So when you say that a person is extroverted, practical, people oriented, flexible, emotionally reactive, now you see a lot of these traits coming together and becoming more like a personality type. So we go deeper into it, and then we understand, okay, for this kind of a personality type, what are the strengths that he or she possesses? What are probably the weaknesses in that personality? And, gives a fair visibility for an individual, in this case, probably a child, to know that, fine, these are the strengths that I have. Now, how do I exploit these strengths to the fullest potential? So I am practical, I'm more focused on the present. So what are the kind of job roles that are meant for me? So rather than saying that this is my weak area, let me see, you look at yourself in a much positive manner and explore your career opportunities accordingly. Moving down to the traits. Now, like I spoke to you about competencies. Now, when you do genomics, you get a deeper understanding of around 28 personality traits. We're talking about spontaneous, emotional, innovative, convivial, flexible, creative, imaginable. So all these personality traits talk a lot about an individual's personality, and every particular trait has a role to play. So say, for instance, when, and the person can dabble with it, they can play around with all of these. Now, let's say, if you have innovative as a trait, your psychometry is saying that you've used your innovative traits to the highest potential. Probably the DNA had a certain scope of you being innovative, but the kind of environment that you've been exposed to, you've brought it to the maximum potential. Do you think you? No, because you've already stretched much more. And where does your strength lie? You can see that also. So when you do, so I'm just trying to answer one of the questions that came in earlier also. When you're doing these three sciences and cross-validating each of these traits, you get a much fairer visibility. For instance, if it was only psychometry, would that help you? Would you know that, do I have a scope of improvement? Yes or no? Or do I have that strength in me? Yes or no? So when you have these three sciences put together, the kind of in-depth understanding that you get for an individual helps you carve out a better career path and lead not just a successful life, but a fulfilled life also. That's how we look at it. I'll move further. So this is, going further deep into each of those personality traits, giving the child an understanding of, this is the trait that you have, this is where your strength lies. Let's explore what are the avenues that lie ahead of you, and it goes from low, mid, high for each of those traits. Further, as we move on to aptitudes and talents. Now, aptitudes and talents are something that cannot be figured out when you use only psychometry. Psychometry can only tell you various personality traits. But when we talk about talents and when we talk about skills, it's like musical aptitude or your abilities, your sound patterns, your mathematical ability, your spelling ability. For a parent wanting to, say, push a child too hard to learn mathematics, and the child is showing probably a very low to a low kind of a score, in this space. Do you think it is worth for a parent to unnecessarily pressure a child in that direction? Might as well see, if the child is high on music, you can focus his or her energies or in that direction, rather than pressurizing a child to excel in a space that he or she is not attuned to, or has born with those strengths with. So we go further, we understand their educational attainment, how quick are they in absorbing knowledge, their working memory, their verbal memory. So you're getting a very in-depth understanding of the complete report. And finally, we move on to indicative professions. Like I believe Sameep mentioned before, that we have a stack of 99 professions for an individual, and we tell them which are the top 5 and which are the bottom 3. So when you talk about the top 5, so here we're talking, because the innovative strength, like I showed you, was very high. We're talking about innovation, financial analyst, travel planner, actor, entrepreneur, and bottom 3 are civil engineer, nurse, and dentist. Dentist could be that when you are speaking to the child, he or she says that I want to be a dentist. Now what? So of course you can be a dentist, but then the effort, the skills that you need to be a dentist, the competencies that you need to be a dentist, you'll have to acquire, you'll have to build. So the energy and the time that you'll need to get there will be much more, but there's no for an answer. So this is, I just thought that it'd be a good idea for me to walk you all through how the report looks like, and open to any questions that you would have.
Shruti, that's really interesting. I'm actually looking at the report first time, and it's actually attractive, and I too wanted to do it, honestly.
Ranjan, we are still making it more jazzy, for the
Yeah.
child and the parent to, feel more at, right now the graphs that you see or the pictures, we're trying
Yeah.
to see if they can even be better or whatever. But
Certainly.
the idea is to use these as a guiding principle, to understand what, although, I always have that question in my mind, Shruti, that why do we always need to talk about the bottom 3, because, is that something that we highlight for a specific reason? The
Of
bottom
course,
3,
of
just for
course,
my
Sameer.
understanding. Okay,
So,
please tell me.
those are the kind of professions which probably are the toughest, and there's a big difference in the competency and skill level of that particular individual. So we need to tell them this is a different direction that you are planning to aspire for. So if you want, we can still take you there. This is the graph that you will have to follow, but the effort is going to be much more. So try and, many people will have that question, okay, we're talking about the top 5, I want to know the bottom also. So this is just to give an idea for a person to evaluate and then map their competencies accordingly and see why he or she has been picked up for the top 5 and not the bottom 3. So I have another question, I think, here, which
Mr.
is
Gangadhar Rao has
from
asked a
Mr.
question.
Gangadhar Rao, yes. What are the inputs needed for this assessment? The candidate is required personally or only the parameters required? No, the candidate is not required personally. How we run it is that there is a kit, which is a saliva sample kit, which is sent once you register yourself to the app. You go on the app, you punch in and you register. The kit is sent across to you at the residence. The child. It is sent across to the child at their residence. Once they've done the sample, it's there ready. They punch it in, and there's a person who will come and collect it from their place. And then, we sent it to the laboratory. There are 2 more details that we need. One is, of course, their, for Astro, we need their time, place, and date of birth. And second, we need their, it's a 10-15 minute exercise for a child to get done with their psychometric assessment. Now, if a child is below 16 years of age, it will be pictorial. It will not be written. They will have to just click on the pictures and answer. Now, whatever they answer, the first question is basis the first question, the second question will come. So there is no particular pattern that is followed across board. It is all AI based. And, we have a stack of 8,000 questions. And basis, how they are being answered, you arrive at the second and the third question. That's how it goes. So all these 3, so when you say genomics, psychometry, and astromancy, all these 3 plugins have to be done from residence.
Yeah, thanks, Shruti. And just a couple of points I want to add that considering that we moved to a very kind of a COVID world where the human interaction is anyway not feasible. What we are looking at is all of this to be done via technology itself. So today, our logistics partner, we were earlier looking at a partner, let's say one of these health companies, which do collection of blood samples, to do our work as well. But then what we've now changed our model to say is that we want to reach to the corners of India. So if there are 30,000 pin codes, we have tied up with the logistics partner who will reach anywhere, and get those samples over to us. And we would just ship those samples over, and the entire report. Nobody needs to go anywhere. It's all done sitting at home. In fact, once the report is available, that also the PDF version or that is emailed, and then the conference, the discussions also are going to be through technology of either a Zoom call or like a Google Meet call, where you interact with the parents online. Because today, with Omicron, and with the world changing so drastically, you never know when shutdowns happen. So we are making sure that our business model is absolutely scalable, and it goes ahead without really the need of physical meeting as a physical presence, as such. So just wanted to highlight
One
that.
question, one point I just thought that I'll share with you. Don't you think the samples should be taken under the supervision of someone from the Genleap, or because because usually when you take a blood sample also, or a swab sample, it is to be taken under the supervision of, say, a medical practitioner or something.
No, this is okay.
You
So,
know,
this is not really that kind of a thing, because this is, a spit-based sample. In fact, to ensure data integrity, we are also going to have a QC process, defined. And, we are working on that bit to say that, how do I know today that, let's say, if I
mhm,
take the sample of, let's say today I want to get the report done for my kid, so I make the payment. The sample kit, the swab kit comes over to my house. Now my kid, instead of putting his spit, he puts in his brother's spit. How so सारे
हो
report ही
सकता है,
गलत सारा report ही गलत हो
हो
जाएगा,
सकता है.
ठीक है,
That's why I was
or
saying.
just so the point is, that's absolutely an area, and which is where earlier our idea was that we'll use one of these partners, let's say आपका जैसे Dr. Lal है, let's say he comes over,
Third party vendors,
right?
yeah, third party
Correct,
vendor.
but उसके अंदर also we'll have to have a QC or a video process to make sure कि जिसका sample है वो ही दे रहा है. That is one area that
Correct.
we are going to be making sure of. In fact, like it could be being done for the kids or whatever, so we want to make sure that there is no there is definitely no loss of integrity out there, because a small change of getting the wrong person's data will make the entire report absolutely
Absolutely.
wrong.
So
So
Ranjan,
Absolutely.
here, in fact, that is exactly the reason why we are not giving these kits to schools and colleges. Because when you
Mhm.
give it to you in a school, in a classroom, children can just exchange the kits, and all the
Absolutely.
data could, yeah. So when the
Mm.
parent has spent a certain amount of money, on getting this
We'll
kit,
make
they will
sure.
ensure,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
right, and also mindful of the fact, it's good for for us to understand that this data is while it's we say it for it's let's say it for my kid, but let's say the kid is 19 years old today, or he will become after a certain date. Now we're also wanting to make sure that who has the data for him. Eventually an adult is only has to have his own data. I should not be given the access to anybody's data. So we're also trying to build in those controls to see that minors ke liye kaise different karna hai versus adults ke liye different karna hai. So for
Correct.
example, today if I get this report done for my entire family, should I have the access rights for even my mother's report, my wife's report, my elder son's report, and my minor son's report, or should I have it only for my report? So ideally we would want to differentiate it, but we're also wanting to see that how easy is it for the people who want to buy say, multiple reports or whatever. So we are very cognizant of the fact that data privacy ke concerns ho sakte hain. Tomorrow we don't want anybody to jumping up on us and saying that कि मेरी रिपोर्ट है, तुमने मेरे फादर को क्यों दे दी या मेरी मदर को क्यों दे दी.
But you never know. You never know. Genleap might have clinics across India, counseling
Look,
clinics
We
with the
are
reports. Yeah.
planning it, Ranjan. So mostly as we look at it, could be by June of next year. The plan is such that if we are able to get a certain volume, we should be able to set up laboratories in India. Of course, you know, if you're looking at taking Genleap self-discovery to tier 2, tier 3 cities and villages, we will have to set up these laboratories.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you know, we are going to be banking on the audience here. You know, Shruti and me can't do the selling ourselves.
Of course, that's the reason we are.
There are a few questions which I wanted to take.
Vendita ji has asked a question here.
Yeah, Vendita ji has asked a question. From what age is it suitable from? So frankly, any age. I think people who can see the benefit immediately could be between 14 to 24 years, because that is the time when they are picking up the right courses for themselves, the right stream for themselves. But as I look at it, the way the Indian scenario is, with both the parents working, children going to school, and the parents pushing them for all classes, even a child who is in first grade or second grade can easily take up this.
Yeah, I think I did clarify on that our target audience is going to be, you know, from wo pre-primary chhod dete hain, but once the admission has happened in the you know, the kid is in the first class onwards, you know, that is where we are, at least we're going to promote ourselves, you know, or market ourselves to say that, you know, that's the right time for you to, you know, start discovering your child, rather than one, as Shruti said, ki apni choices us pe thopo, ya, you know, or go in whatever direction which is coming to you, or, you know, you're waiting till when it's time to understand whether to take sciences or whatever, 9th, 10th mein aake. We are going to be targeting that, but, you know, the bigger chunk, or, you know, going by the 80-20 principle, the bigger bucket is definitely going to be, you know, 8th, 9th, 10th onwards or whatever. But needless to say that we want to focus on, and we will have to come out with targeted, you know, marketing plans for the younger, you know, younger generation as well, and what we can do for them further thereon. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Gangadhar ji also added whether the candidate maybe below 10 years is able to do this exercise. So you answered that. They will be able to. Parents will be more curious to know, अच्छा चलो बच्चा class 1 में 2 में आ गया, test करा लेते हैं.
No, the only thing that the child cannot do is the psychometry test, because बाकी दोनों में तो सिर्फ, you know, कुछ करना नहीं है, you know, that way. In fact, you know, one of the questions which came to us was that, you know, let us say the exact time of birth is not available. That doesn't mean कि आपकी report ही नहीं बनेगी. You know, we will you know, we will get inputs and parameters, and we will try and work around some of those gaps also which there. Like, you know, if somebody doesn't remember, let's say, his time of birth, or या किसी को, you know, somebody who's, let's say, 40 years old doesn't know his date of birth only. So, you know, we are not saying that we'll have to, you know, work around some of those things as well to see how do we fine tune our product. What is it basis the thing that we can, you know, come out with what kind of data. So, you know, again, you know, there could be multiple, you know, I would say multiple combinations, permutations of something or whatever. But as Shruti explained, that once somebody pays up, or once, you know, the kid or the parent is ready for it, these 3 track lines will work simultaneously. You know, one is कि आपको sample आ जाएगा, and, you know, again, everything is going to be technology based. You click on a link, the sample will be couriered to you. Once you get the sample, nobody is doing a reverse pickup unless and until you click a link back saying, yes, I'm ready to pick up the sample, you know, take the sample from my house now. You know, eventually, automatically, you know, the courier company will come over to you. Can you imagine if it's all a manual process, and we are trying to do this across, you know, across India, how difficult it would be for us. And that's the reason why, you know, we have taken our time. The company was in inception in February, and, you know, we are looking at coming to the next February. We are taking our proper time to make sure that our platform is absolutely well established and it works seamlessly, you know, because once we open the doors, and even 2 institutions walk in to say, "Hamare 20,000 student kar do ya 10,000 kar do," you know, we want to be totally geared up to, you know, to meet all those demands which kind of come in.
Yeah. I think some of the questions Shruti has also already answered.
The estimated cost, the question has just come in. So, you know, right now, what we are looking at is that we are looking at targeting our marketing our product at about 8,500, which is, you know, for our discovery report. The discovery report comes with a 15-minute, you know, download session, which is kind of complimentary. needless to say that, that's the MRP of the report, let's say for a walk-in customer. But let's say, when we are working with counselors or whatever, and, if let's say the counselors work with us and they are able to sell the report, ahead or whatever, there will be, a lower cost, or, the revenue share models will be there. So that we will be discussing kind of separately, but basically that is the report. And, once if a kid or the parent is now, we're also keen that, within we also understand that, a 15 or 20-minute download may not be enough. So our idea and endeavor is also to, have a complete 1 hour download session, but that's going to be a chargeable session. So, and more or less, let's say about 3,000 or 4,000, if we add to that 11,000, what it's one we're going to target it. But having said that, the primary report is going to be 8,500. Till the time we are able to, get our cost down and say that, now the lab is in India, and, we can even get her down. But as of right now, when we, this is the thing that we have, things may change by the time we launch, which is, Jan Feb, but that's the pricing of the report at the moment.
Great.
Shruti, I hope nothing has changed on the pricing. It's what I'm just saying, because, things that so dynamic.
There's been a little change, but
Broadly around
yeah, it's actually 9,999. That's the pricing that we have.
Okay,
as
that's
of
the
now.
overall pricing, but what about, I think 8,500 is the discount,
Is the
introductory
discount?
price.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I stand corrected. 10,000 is the price of the product, 4 times 9, and in introductory price is 8,500.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. Listed price and wo jo hota hai na? Right.
All right. Any other questions, advisors? I think it's a good discussion, and whomsoever is going to watch this video will definitely have a lot of questions coming in.
Fantastic.
Any
So,
other questions?
just so how, I just want to leave that thought over with you guys again, reiterating, please feel free to, walk through this video, think back, any questions which come to your mind, anything that you want to give us a feedback, please do share that. Through MapMyStudy, we will get in touch with you, to solve your queries, and, also on how take the further steps on how, we can take it ahead with you guys in your areas or whatever. Having said that, some of that work will get kickstarted only in Jan and Feb, as I understand it today.
I will be, the team will be sending you, circulating a small document about Genleap. So you will receive that in some time. You can also go to their website and have a look at it because a lot of information has already been published on the website, and you will have a better understanding of the product possibly. Any other questions, you can shoot right away on the chat box, or we will wrap up the session right now. Anything else?
We are just bang on, 5 p.m. I didn't even know that, it's going to, it's, generally I've done
started
these.
15, 20 minutes.
No,
late,
it's been a good interactive session because, generally tends to get wrapped up in an hour. So, I'm happy that, there were some queries which kind of come up, and, it's a bigger audience. So, I'm looking forward to connecting with, some of them individually as well as time progresses.
We'll have another session, advisors, tomorrow with another batch. So in case you have any questions coming up in your mind, you can join in tomorrow's session. You can connect with the team here and join tomorrow's session as well. Right. Thank you so very much once again, and thank you to Sameerji and Shruti for coming forward and taking your time out to brief about Genleap. It's one of a kind and unique product in the market, never been tested, never been launched. So,
how will it be tested? It hasn't been launched yet. So, hang on.
Yeah.
But thank you
for Start has been tested. Since 2009, our partner has been working on it. So it's been almost 12 years of it being tested across the globe on various races. Yes.
Right.
So in India, while we've done it for a set of people, but officially all the samples, pilots will start from January mid to end. That's how we do it.
Let's cross our fingers for that. And thank you so very much. Natarajanji, you wanted to say something?
Nothing.
You unmuted yourself. All right. Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ranjan.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you to MapMyStudy and all of you again for joining in. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.